moving into our next segment here, we're going to be introducing Monica Miller, or I should say, reintroducing Monica Miller to the stage, who will be moderating this next panel titled Esports Connection to In-Demand Job Skills. But if you don't know much about Monica, Monica is a Ritual Motion columnist, a collegiate esports consultant. She helps colleges and universities build esports programs from the ground up. And over here at Ritual Motion, she contributes written content pieces, usually surrounding health and wellness and gaming and the varsity esports scene. So welcome back, Monica.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
All right. I think we're going to start welcoming up our next panelists. Joining Monica here today, we have Andrew Caviston, the content director, at Beast Coast, Justin M. Jacobson, Ford Models, Esports Gaming and Talent Manager, Christian Kunkel, the director of University Partnerships at Nerd Street Gamers, and Aline Louv, director of Brand and Community at PlayVS. So I see everyone slowly starting to join here. So Monica, I'll let you have it.
All right. Thank you, Crystal. Hello, all these lovely smiling faces. I love to see it. How are we all doing today?
Good. Great. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. Excellent. Super excited to be here and among some familiar faces and some new faces. So today we're going to be talking about in-demand job skills and the connection to esports. So I know a lot of the students here are thinking maybe about getting into college, which is one step into the greater picture of things, of the question of what do you want to do for the rest of your life? What is the job you want to have? And this panel is designed to provoke thought and questions and answers about what kind of skills do esports set us up for in the professional world. So before we get kicked off with the questions, I just want to go through and have everybody introduce themselves. If you want to do a 2-minute elevator pitch about who you are, I think that would be a great place to start. Christian, you're the first box in the top left, so I'm going to tag you first.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Christian Kunkel. I work with Nerd Street Gamers, and I focus on our university partnership. So I'm involved with a lot of the work that we do when we're working with schools at all levels. But we very much focus on the college market as one exciting growth opportunity. What we do at Nerd Street Gamers is we're an infrastructure company that is trying to increase access to competitive opportunities. And we do that through building facilities and throwing all kinds of events targeted to the amateur market. We also do a lot of production and content creation, all the way up to the pro levels. We're actually the production and event partner right now on the Valorant Champions Tour. So we have a lot of experience. We work with Aline also at PlayVS. So, a lot of great partners here that we've definitely worked with, have worked with Monica in the past. So it's great to see you all. Happy to kind of share thoughts on how to help young players and aspiring esports competitors to get more out of the field.
All right. Justin.
Hey, everyone. I'm Justin Jacobson. I'm an esports and entertainment attorney in New York City, and I also run Ford Models Esports and Gaming Talent Division, and I work with professional gamers and streamers and content creators and coaches and help them with their legal and business and marketing needs. I also teach esports business at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and have authored a book.
Excellent, excellent. And Andrew, you're next on the box here.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Andrew Caviston. I go by Cav, and I'm the content director at an esports team called Beast Coast. Currently, we are a international team with SA, NA, and European players, staff, and all that. Currently, one of the fastest growing up-and-coming grassroots esports teams, and having 29 players and streamers, and currently 25 full-time, part-time staffs. So I run the content, YouTube, Twitch, whatever it may be. And nice to meet you all.
All right. And last but not least, Aline.
Hi, everyone. It's actually pronounced Aline.
Aline, sorry.
No worries. No worries. Christian knows he's had to correct many folks too as we work together. It's all good. So my name's Aline. Nice to be here with all of you. I lead the brand and community team at PlayVS. PlayVS is a amateur esports platform. We work with a lot of high schools and colleges to run their esports competitions throughout their school year. We also just recently launched an open youth league for anyone ages 13 to 18 to compete on our platform as well. for my position, specifically, I run a lot of our co-marketing opportunities, content initiatives, PR, as well as our community initiatives. So I've launched brand ambassador programs, as well as Game Changers, which is our Girls in Gaming initiative. Excited to be here. Really excited to kind of chat with all of you.
Awesome. We're super excited that you guys could dedicate some time this weekend. And it sounds like you're all doing really great things in the field, specifically for our students. And with the panel discussion in mind here, I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off. So soft skills are typically defined as these interpersonal skills, communication skills, teamwork, so on and so forth. Can you share from your experiences? And I'll just hand the torch over to, again, Christian, well, I guess we'll go back in that round robin of the boxes here. How might some soft skills that you gain from esports translate into in-demand job skills in the real world for the career path in esports?
Yes, sure. So there's a ton of skills that are incredibly relevant, and that I think most careers are very much shifting their focus to requiring people that they want to hire to have these kind of communication skills that at the core of teamwork and strategy are very, very important. One of the other things that I think are very common within the overall industry, especially around events and content, is that these are efforts that require coordination of a lot of people. So both if you're running events and if you're creating content, you have lots of people involved in each of those efforts, and your ability to kind of work together, set goals, and be intentional about what you're trying to accomplish is something that translates across all fields. And I think the great part about the ability to show the skills that you have in esports is that in most cases you have very tangible outputs that you can point to and say, this is when I did this, and you can see it either because it's on the stream or because the event went this way, and we have proof that it actually happened. It's very real, it's very tangible, and if you kind of tell that story about how you went about doing that, it becomes pretty obvious if you do or don't have that skill.
Excellent. Justin, any words of advice, any soft skills that you've noticed that are transferable?
Well, yeah, kind of building on what Christian said, I think, the critical thinking component of, people disconnect, things happen that you might not expect to happen, and being able to, whether it's in game, you thought something you were going to kill someone and didn't happen, or something doesn't play out, and being able to kind of think on your feet and adapt, and also be able to kind of take feedback and work with your team. And some people become leaders and, have to sometimes accept the role of following people. And I think that's something you kind of learn whether you're playing a game with people, especially in these co-op modes, or just, working in the industry in general.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can go straight into it. Yeah, so just being in esports itself, it's such a diverse kind of corporation. So you can either start with the grassroots startup vibe, which is a very different atmosphere than the heavy investment corporate side. And they both have different ways to be successful, but are both really important experience to have. And everybody at some point probably did a startup or maybe just went straight into corporate, but having that skill set to be flexible like that is super important. And that's where scheduling, communication, and knowing your role in order to optimize your company is super important, and stuff you'll learn being in esports definitely from day one.
All right. Eileen.
Yeah, I think, to add on to what everyone said, communication, collaboration, that teamwork, those skills are all incredibly important and something that you can directly learn from competing in esports and video games, right? I think the other aspect of any job is really goal setting, which is also very important in games. So understanding how to set goals, how you prioritize them, and then how you work with your team to achieve those goals. Super transferable to what you do every day in a job, whether it's at a startup, whether you're creating content, whether you're working on some project or event. All of those skills are really important from seeing that start to finish.
Excellent. Excellent. Great answers, everybody. We're going to switch it over to the hard skills now. So soft skills being those interpersonal skills, being able to communicate and, work as a part of a team. But hard skills are more so these learned skills that you kind of develop over time. So maybe technology, painting, whatever it is. What are some of the hard skills that gamers are learning and developing over time that they can, build into their resume and communicate to an interviewer when they come down to seeking that job? And we'll go back around again. Christian.
Sure. So I'll start on the gamer side and leave the industry side off for a second, because I think there's different skill sets potentially in both. There's certainly a lot of overlap, but if I just kind of grab the player side for a second, I think one of the things that's the most important transferable skill is self-improvement, is your ability to kind of recognize your current skill set, your current abilities, and then set an intentional process to say, this is how I think I'm going to get better. One of the things that I think is really exciting and powerful about the gaming industry is that you get so much constant feedback about how you're doing every step of the way, whereas in many industries you don't get that, right? Like other sports even don't give you the constant feedback that you get in gaming. So you have the ability to absorb a lot more about your performance and about how that scrim or that match went, and then use that to improve. So, your ability to kind of take that input and then refine your approach, refine your goals, and then for the next time kind of update as you go. That is an incredibly powerful skill. One, it is really the only way you learn over time. Once you leave school, your learning after that point is up to you. You're the only one that's really going to be driving it. I mean, certainly people will be supporting you in it, but you're responsible for that ultimately. So if you can use that as a learning construct, or, a process that you've developed through gaming, it absolutely translates. Yeah, there'll be different ways you measure it, define it in other areas, but it is something that absolutely is going to be on you over time. And I think gaming is a great way to kind of build that muscle and get really good at it.
Yeah, I think, kind of building off Christian's point of, as a gamer or streamer, you're kind of developing these marketing and presentation skills where you're thinking what you're going to look like on stream, when you're releasing content, what the title of the YouTube video is, what the description, when, the time and date. All these things kind of are really marketing and promotional techniques where you're learning, okay, my audience activates better, or I get more likes when I do it at this time. And it's kind of a process that you almost learn on the fly, which, and then if you're speaking on stream or in these videos, you're learning these public presentation skills where if you're doing a product review or some kind of other just interaction with people, you're developing these skills where you're speaking to hundreds, if not thousands of people at once. And, that's a really unique opportunity that you wouldn't get from anything else, really.
Yeah, and being directly in the content industry, it's basically all technical skill in the end of the day. It's editing, video recording, whatever it may be. So this stuff is just interchangeable any industry, and everybody really needs good commercials, good advertisements, good streams in the end of the day, with the internet being the main source of entertainment nowadays. So especially in this content industry, it's just great having a portfolio, building it, and that's what this industry is really good at, because everybody wants to, if you're streaming gameplay for highlights or whatever it may be, just to show high level gameplay, but in the end of the day, you are broadcasting, and that's a skill set you're slowly improving on. So overall, the esports industry is super good for that.
Yeah, I think what wasn't touched on already, I think there's a lot of just strategy, like strategic thinking, that you're learning when you're competing in esports. Maybe you're not so much doing content, but you're actively playing with your teams. What skills are you learning then that you can apply to your job, which is strategic thinking? Like, how are you solving problems? How are you communicating with your teams? How are you time management? Learning all of those hard skills that are also really important when you take that into any career field.
Yeah, great stuff, everybody. So, Christian, you had mentioned it's really important to learn as you go and to kind of take control of the lessons after you leave school. And I'm wondering, what are some of the important lessons you've learned through your career, all of you, starting with Christian?
Oh man, there's too many to go through right now. I'm sure all of us are in that same boat, where you learn a lot as you actually take the attempt and try things out. I mean, one of the things that I've kind of come to the esports world with an education lens. It's definitely kind of something that I have spent a lot of time thinking about and working on over my career, and in a lot of those efforts, I think the kind of an entrepreneurial mindset, and what I mean by that is particularly that kind of willingness to go build something on your, whatever you think matters or is needed, whatever you hear from the community that they want and desire and need. Those are opportunities right now that, especially in esports, in such a growing industry, they're everywhere, right? So, there's that default mindset of like seeing, hey, why doesn't that exist? That should exist. That's something that absolutely is needed. Lots of people would love that. You may get an intuitive sense of that because you yourself are a gamer and you assume there's lots more people out there like you. I'd say go test that theory. Go out and ask people about that. And if there is that kind of general agreement, go build it. Right now, there's so much opportunity. There's a few great organizations that are starting to grow large followings and supports, both in terms of the leagues, the teams, the content. But it is right now a very diverse ecosystem. So there's a lot of opportunities both for the big players as well as the small ones. And I definitely would just encourage people to kind of go take a big swing at it. Right now, a worst case is you learn a whole lot and you're going to have a huge amount of experience to go into whatever you do next. So if you can take a leap like that, highly recommend it.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things I've learned is, patience and consistency. It's just this is a really new emerging area and a lot of different facets of it. If it's not the first time, it's one of the first times. A lot of things have happened. So you just have to kind of go about it for the right reasons and doing it the right way, because people can really see through it. And I think that's kind of where the consistency comes in, where it's like, it can't just be something where you just do it once in a while or you want to just be in it. You have to really fully immerse yourself in it in order to really kind of achieve whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off Christian, like taking initiative in this industry is very important. A lot of the stuff is a startup environment, and sometimes things don't get done, and taking the initiative, taking on projects, brainstorming, thinking for yourself, and having a passion in esports, you'll automatically put in the effort and the hard work to make it happen. So just having the confidence in yourself to take initiative, because like Justin said, this is a newer industry. Everybody is kind of inexperienced at some form or another compared to other job routes. So just take initiative, do your passions, and have fun with it.
Yeah, and building off of that, I think something that I've learned is just being resilient. Like Cav and Christian said, like this is pretty new. There's a lot to learn as you go. And I think it's important to say that it's okay to make mistakes while you're learning, and just having that mindset to be to take that initiative and be okay if that doesn't work out, and being resilient to then go ahead and take and start something new and try something different the next time. Just being able to adapt and work quickly, especially in this changing environment. Everything, something can be in one day and the next it can be something new. So it's important to just kind of be able to adapt, be resilient, and just be okay with making mistakes, and have fun along the way. Just learn as much as you can throughout this entire process, and be there for the journey as much as for the success at the end.
Really great responses. I actually learned quite a bit myself that I'm excited to apply to my future. We've all been talking a lot about these big concepts of, being professionals. I think a lot of times when we tell people we work in esports and gaming, they automatically think that we're just playing games all day. So as you can see, there's a lot that goes into all of this. And I'm really curious to hear about how each of your relationships with gaming has evolved as you have pursued a career in this field. Because we all clearly have a passion for this in some way, whether we were gamers or fans of games. So I'd really like to hear about how your interest in gaming has changed or evolved throughout the course of your career.
You want me to start again, I guess? Keep going around the horn?
Keep going around the rabbit hole. Yeah.
Sure. So I would say, unfortunately, when you're in a startup environment where things are moving incredibly rapidly, I may get to play less than I wish I would at these days. But it doesn't, but you certainly just kind of have that kind of baseline passion. I mean, I'm someone who grew up just loving games like Pokemon and Mega Man and like all of like Contra, all these original NES and SNES titles, and kind of have played all the way through. So it's in my blood from the time I was a really young kid, and it's something that has just always been an interest to me. So, right now I play a lot more of the Oculus, I would say. That's what I've been spending more time into, just because I love the experience. And certainly I end up watching a lot of the games and the matches that we're supporting and helping. So I get a little bit of everything. That's kind of the fun for me, is I get a little bit of play, a lot of involvement as a fan. And you get exposure to a lot of different angles that maybe I didn't as much when I was younger. But it opens a lot of doors, and it's really fun still.
Yeah, I think kind of building off that, it's really kind of become more of an obsession where it's like, it used to be fun, but now it's like market research. And I really kind of got to be on the pulse of who's doing what teams are trending, what players are, moving up and doing well. So it's really kind of become really all encompassing. And just the way the whole industry is, it's a very 24/7 world, where some of these other entertainment and sports worlds, it's kind of like that, but just with time zones and just the different games, it's really that you have to kind of keep on what's going on with it, and that really kind of keeps you really immersed within what's going on.
Yeah, and working in content, in the end of the day, you're going to be watching much more than you are going to be playing. Not only because it's like research in a form, but like, I don't know, I just enjoy watching more so. But when I do play, try to involve myself in the games that have our players in it, just to be more in tune with the games culture, but also the fans. Like, we just recently got a Pro League Rainbow Six team, and just been picking up Rainbow Six with some of my coworkers, trying to learn the game, the ins and outs, and the basic fundamentals of it, just to give a little bit more like expertise, I guess, when it comes to content creating. I'm never going to be a pro and give tips, but like at least understanding the game conceptually is super important.
Yeah, I think being in the video game industry and actually playing video games is definitely a misconception. Like many of the folks here, I actually spend a lot more time watching people play games rather than playing myself. I'm always been more of a casual gamer, or like mobile gaming. Obviously with quarantine, I picked up Animal Crossing, have been obsessed with that. But I think for me, it's the same thing. It's really watching, doing market research, understanding what the trends are in the community, what do community members value, what are the fans expecting when we put on an event, when we put on a stream or a competition, and just really staying on top of what the community actually values and what they need is really important for someone in my role.
Excellent, excellent. We got a really good question in chat from Liz Murphy, actually. What are some things you can do in college outside of your academic area of study to better prepare for a career in gaming? Anybody is welcome to tackle this one first.
I'll jump in on it quickly. I think that, the biggest thing is if your school has some kind of club or something, get involved in it. And if not, some local town. I think the best advice that people have been giving is that you have to be involved and do it. And whether it's helping putting on an event or trying to throw one on your own, or just something that really kind of gets you into doing and being involved instead of just kind of checking it out or kind of being on the sidelines. I think that's probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah, and jumping on that, it's also kind of volunteering and taking on a leadership role in those clubs, whether it's being involved as their social media coordinator or their event planner, hosting socials, just kind of getting yourself out there, getting more involved, and having those leadership opportunities will just give you more opportunities to learn those skills that we were talking about earlier as well.
Awesome. Anyone else want to chime in? No? All right, on to the next question then. This one's pretty loaded, so I'm glad we have a good 10 minutes or so to discuss it. So for all the students here today, if you could provide some advice, if you were able to go back in time to your former high school or college self to help plan with your, to help with your career planning, what kind of advice would you give yourself and why? And whoever wants to go first can take the mic here, because I know this one will take some time to think through.
I can go first since I didn't
Awesome.
participate in the last one. So in the end of the day, if I found my passion or accepted it sooner, definitely you just have more time in general. And that's kind of like what these skills take. They just take time to develop. And the more you, like in content, for example, the more you look back on your edits, the more you realize how unskillful you actually were. So just really accepting myself, because transitioning from high school to college, I went from sport jock to esports jock in a sense of really liking competitive video games. And I really never accepted it because it was like it was a weird thing. It was a weird hobby. You were like a nerd back in the day, and it was embarrassing. But eventually, like when you grow up in college, you just get older and you just accepted it and eventually joined clubs. And this is where I would feel like I made the most headway in this industry, was actually just participating, accepting it, and just doing what I love, which is, I think, the main goal in the end of the day.
I'll echo a little bit of what Andrew was just saying. I think, you know, one way to tell whether, like, where you want to spend your time is kind of like the curiosity side of this. And I think, you know, in my mind, you know, I'm someone who's naturally curious about a lot of different things. I just like learning about a lot of different topics. But one of the ways that I've always kind of been able to measure or kind of assess, you know, how successful I feel I'm being at the time in any given role or organization I'm in is based on like how much free time do I spend just always wanting to think about my job and everything that I'm doing outside of even when it's the formal time, right? Like, and I think that's a good indicator that you're like so interested and committed to whatever you're working on, that you just, you know, you want your brain to kind of be all consumed by it. And yes, there's different, you know, compartments you might have. So you might have your work compartment and you're focusing on work related tasks, but then like if in your free time, you're also just like following this specific league, or you're following these streams or these producers, or, you know, like if you really like certain aspects of it, learn a ton about it. And to me, that's a good indication that you're following, you know, something that you're willing to put the time and effort into to get really good at over time. Because it's important. Like Andrew was saying, it is definitely, all of these skills are a process, and they all take a lot of attempts and a lot of effort to become really good at them. I mean, in many cases, I don't, you know, some of you may have heard of the 10,000 hour theory, which is a pretty well, you know, pretty well respected approach of, you know, 10,000, you know, deliberate training hours, not like, you know, floating around the scene for 10,000 hours, but like working at the critical level of your ability where you're, you know, failing often, but getting a little bit better. You're at your maximum difficulty that you can handle. 10,000 hours, that takes a really long time to accrue. So, you know, follow that passion, follow that interest. And I think where you start seeing yourself wanting to sink tons of hours of time, that's a good sign that you should keep doing that. And that just naturally leads to a lot more improvement, which puts you into a better position over time.
Yeah, Christian, you actually mentioned something that's really curious to me. Failure is a part of the game here. We've all experienced a loss, whether it's in game or in real life, and I'm really curious about how, if anybody would be comfortable sharing one of your failures and how you overcame that, both as a professional and as an individual. Justin and Aileen, we haven't really heard from you in the past two questions, so I would love to hear from either one of you if you'd be willing to put yourself out there.
I mean, I don't know if necessarily it was a failure, but it was more of, you know, you're trying to do the best you can on behalf of, you know, a client or whoever you're working with, and they just don't really listen to you. And you just feel like you get to the point where it's like, I told you so. And it's almost like a failure on your part when you're writing, like, okay, well, this agreement that I told you for me to look over and help you with, and you didn't want my help, you didn't want to take my advice, ends up a month, 2 months later, whatever, things go south. And it's like, well, I told you so. And like, you as someone who's trying to have their best interest and help them, you feel like a failure because it's like, I tried to help you avoid this. Like, I had a feeling this might happen. And like, you know, as someone who's really trying to help them grow, you don't want them to not succeed and not achieve whatever they're trying to do. So you kind of almost bear the weight of their mistake. And it's like, well, if you would have listened to me, then I probably could have helped you avoid this. And, you know, who knows? But the fact that you didn't listen, we have no idea if it would have helped. So, you know, I think that's just something where maybe it's just a failure of, you know, trusting my word, or them just not understanding or not communicating it properly. But, you know, working in these industries, especially directly with talent, you kind of feel their failures as yours almost.
Yeah, and for me, I think early on, one of our early failures was just around planning one of our very first championship season, and really underestimating what it takes to put on a live in-person production, which I'm sure a lot of you know takes a lot of effort and people and talent. And I think for us, it's really just making sure that you learn from those failures. Like, what were the things that went wrong? How could you fix them or avoid them moving forward? And then additionally, like for us, it's like, how do we, okay, so this didn't work out. Can we repurpose any of it? Our event didn't work out, but we were able to repurpose the stream and create content after the fact. So I think there's creative ways to take maybe what didn't go well, turn it into something that did go well, and just learn from that process. But also, like I mentioned before, just being resilient and not letting that stop you from continuing on is really important. There was also one thing I wanted to address from your previous question, which is like, what would I kind of go back and tell myself if I was meeting my student self? And it's really, for me, not worrying too much about what major you pick. I think a lot of high school seniors and even incoming freshmen really worry about what your major is going to be, but you can change it. You can change it as many times as you want. I don't know if you, like, guidance counselors don't really say that in high school, but you can. And even after you graduate from college with your major, it doesn't necessarily dictate what career you need to take afterwards as well. So I think that's really important. And just like Christian said, remain curious. Try different majors out. Take classes in different majors that you think you might be passionate in for a quarter or a semester and see how it goes. Really try different internships and just kind of put yourself out there and really explore what your passion might be. Because you might not know. I didn't know, certainly. I had no idea that I was going to be in esports or video gaming if I talked to myself 10 years ago. So really just being open to whatever opportunities exist out there, you'll find yourself in a pretty good place.
Yeah, great advice. I'm definitely in that camp of students who changed my major. So I definitely understand that process of looking within and figuring out, what am I passionate about? What do I like doing? Really important questions to ask yourself. And you mentioned about the opportunities, right? So each of you work in a really awesome area of the esports industry, up and coming in your different areas. And I'm curious if any of your companies are seeking interns or any kind of support from new grads. Perhaps somebody who's in the chat is looking for an opportunity. So now's the time to plug any kind of help you're seeking.
Sure, I'll start. The answer is yes, absolutely, in every department. So if there's any part of the industry you're interested in, we're talking content creation, event management, marketing, sales, accounting, all of it, from every step. So we have a lot of, on our careers page, if you go to nerdstreetgamers.com, we have a careers page. Take a look at it. We'd absolutely love to have people. We're starting a proper internship program this summer. We have definitely taken interns in the past, but we're going to keep doing more of that. So definitely come our way.
Yeah, likewise. We've expanded a lot within the last year and a half. And just since last August, we've added 10 additions to our content team itself, which is our major focus in our company. And we're always going to be job posting on our beastcoast.gg. There's a career tab. Maybe nothing right now, but in the future there will be. And then obviously we post our stuff on like things like Hitmarker, which is a very awesome source. So always look out for Beast Coast because we are expanding still, which is super exciting.
We're also expanding and hiring. We don't have an official internship program just yet, but if you're interested in kind of learning how to coach and work with high school students, maybe as volunteer hours, we do have a volunteer coach program, which is an awesome opportunity if you're learning maybe how to coach or work on your skills in leadership, working with high school students. We do have that program and opportunity available. You can visit playversus.com in the chat to learn more too.
Awesome. Thank you so much to everybody who came for our panel today, our attendees and also our panelists. We are very grateful for your time. I think we are breaking out into a networking opportunity next. So if you want to stick around, if any of the panelists are able to stick around, we'll be able to talk more about esports and gaming and other topics, and you can pick our brains. So I'll hand over the microphone to Crystal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica, and for the rest of you. That was an amazing panel.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, so moving on, like Monica said, we are about to get ready to end session 2 and go back into a quick networking session. But before we do that, if you were here in the first session, we had a special contest question. And if you got it correct, if you were the first one to get it correct, then you would receive a gift card to Ritual Motion for a pair of gaming skins. So now we're going to ask the second question. So same process as before. The first one who can message me privately with the answer is going to be the winner. We'll cover email addresses and how to get that to you and stuff in that private chat. But if you're ready, I'm going to go on ahead and ask. So what was the top prize in the first League of Legends World Championship? What was the top prize in the first League of Legends World Championship? My gosh, I'm already getting a flood of messages. So for your first hint, the first League of Legends World Championship was held in 2011 in Sweden. If you're watching it, Fnatic took home the grand prize. By the following year, the grand prize had jumped to $1 million. Give you guys a couple of seconds. Let me click through here and see what you guys are sending. All right, I think we found it. Christopher Smith. The answer is $50,000. The entire prize pool was $100,000. Fnatic took home $50,000 of it. All right, Christopher, Christopher Smith, I know I just messaged you, or you just messaged me in private chat. If you can send me your email address in there, I'll make sure that you get your prize. But now that we're ending session 2, we're going to go immediately jump into a networking session for about 10 minutes or so, and then session 3 will begin, and we will continue from there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon after our break.